Hello and welcome back. I've returned to present my final project. Now, mine was a bit different than a lot of people since I made a space game. So, starting off, I first made an enemy and laser class, which are pretty similar. They take in textures and have a set speed for a sprite. Then the player classes, well, you guessed it, where the player is formatted. This is where the player can move and the speed is also set, as well as the lasers are instantiated for the player into vectors. Then the main part of the game is created, which is just the game class, where all three classes are essentially brought together, and a couple of other more. Here the enemy is spawned in with their own lasers as well as added asteroids are drawn, but that's just mainly for looks. Some of the major things created are the player score, different collisions detected, the health, which is a stack, and the barrier/wall, which is a linked list. From here, other minor classes were created to assist the game class, such as the rectangle class, which were used to insert specific images or add to the stack, as well as the score class, which kept count of the player's score every time an enemy was hit. Once these were created and put into the game class, I set up the menu class, which brought in buttons and handled certain events for the game. This of course used a button class which set up a rectangle shape with text and size. The game class and main menu were then put into the main game class, which sets up the order of the game and includes a couple more buttons and events, like winning or losing. Then the final game is run through the main. The one class that I didn't do myself and borrowed was the collision class, which used this perfect pixel collision function to detect collisions counted pixel by pixel. Well, now to run the program itself. Here's the main menu from the menu class, which just draws everything you see on the screen, and I can hover over the exit or start buttons, as well as that little question mark to bring up the instructions. Now you can start the game by pressing start with the enter key or your mouse. As you can see, we have the alien enemies that start shooting lasers at you. If you bump into an enemy or the laser hits you, you will lose a life. After a certain number of points, I believe I have it at every 20 points you get, the barrier is built. Now after 7 barriers are built, then you win. Now if the enemy hits one of the barriers, then the top will pop off. So you have to guard it to get back home. That's demonstrated here. Although it looks pretty simple, some things were a bit challenging to make. For starters, the motion of the player was odd to do because sometimes the speed didn't align right and would either go too fast or too slow, depending on the frame rate and delta time. Now once I got the enemies and the player working, there were some smaller things that were a bit tough, such as making the cooldown of the lasers, controlling events, setting up the scorekeeping, or making the barrier work pop out and in correctly. But the biggest challenge was probably figuring out how the whole program would be connected together and work efficiently. But at the same time, it kind of helped me reinforce the topics of classes and how they can be connected together. In the end, my final project did pretty much align with my original scope except for 2 things, which were the coin system and the boss, which I didn't really get to in the end. Thank you.